The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
We're back, folks. This is the More Money Show. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. My next guest is a good friend and a good friend of American families, Jeff Yass of Susquehanna Capital. You all know, many of you do know, Jeff is one of the most amazing supporters of school choice and providing literally thousands of kids with opportunities to go to good, Catholic schools, charter schools when the public schools are failing. And the reason I wanted to bring on Jeff is because he has offered in Pennsylvania, in the Philadelphia area, where there's a number of schools that are closing down. Jeff has offered to basically like a scholarship for these families for up to 4,000 kids that could go to a great school instead of having to move out of their district. And yet the teachers union would come down against him for wanting to help spend his own money to help these families. So Jeff, thanks. First of all, thanks for coming on and thanks for everything you do for American kids and families.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
So tell the story. It's almost you can tell the story better than I can, but it's just the most astounding thing. And by the way, you and your wife, Jeff, Janine, have been just amazing in terms of the way you have helped so many kids in this country. But boy, no good deed goes unpunished.
I think this story sort of illustrates where the left is at. There were 17 schools in Philadelphia that they wanted to close. They could seat like 1,000 kids. There's 100 or 200 in there, and all the schools have terrible test scores, and they're terrible. So they wanted to close them, and it would be 4,000 kids that would be forced to move. But they got a lot of resistance from those, from some of the families who didn't want to move. So we said, we will give 500 of the kids out of the 4,000 an $8,000 per year scholarship. So $4 million bucks a year for every year that they go to another school, a Catholic school, or whatever else they want to do. Yeah. And we'll pay it. So you can. You mean
you and Janine would pay for their tuition?
Their tuition. My wife and I would pay for their tuition. So it's basically a $25 to $30 million gift to the city of Philadelphia.
Oh my God! Yeah,
and it solves one of the big problems, one of the big stories in Philadelphia.
And by the way, I bet a lot of those kids are probably minorities.
They're all minorities, or essentially all minorities. The supposed champion of minorities came out, called us dastardly, and said that waving dastardly, like Dick Dastardly, waving money in front of kids' faces for his evil capitalist plan is despicable. That's how they responded. So far, we're trying to get the kids. We have a website. We're trying to get the kids to apply on the website, but we've received no support from anybody in Philadelphia. Certainly not from the mayor, not from city council, and certainly not from Josh Shapiro, the get shit done governor. So here we are offering this money, and the answer is just silence, or you're an evildoer, dastardly capitalist. That's where we stand in Philadelphia.
So these are the teachers' unions that are supposedly in favor of children.
Yes, yes, they are.
It's really this is a sad story. I mean, it really is. First of all, thank you for what you're doing for these kids and families. But the fact that there's so much resistance. I mean, this is free money you're offering to the city and to these families, and they say you're dastardly for it.
Yes. If anything, someone said to me, the left is not trying to solve the problem. Like, we waste our time sometimes, you and I, Steve, talking about this program is good, this program is bad. The real reality, the sad reality, is the left is not trying to solve the problem. They know school choice would make kids much happier. They know they'd save a fortune, but they would lose power. And their goal is to get power. And I don't think anything illustrates it better than this circumstance.
Yes.
We're offering 25 million, possibly 40, depending on how many kids sign up and at what time. And the answer is no, get out of here. You know?
So you've been made famous in the last couple of months because you also had a piece, I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, but you were talking about how much it costs in New York to educate a kid, and it was like 40,000. I forget the number, like some amazing amount of money per year per child.
43,500.
What is it?
43,500.
But the schools are failing.
Yeah, there's 37.
What are they getting for the
43,000?
Jesus.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously.
Yeah, and
so,
what we try to argue was if you divided that money, that number, by the way, has doubled in real terms in the last 30 years. So we used to spend 20, and now it's not like they hired teachers or they gave teachers big raises, because teachers have not done well in all this. They have been a victim as well. They just hired bureaucrats and climate managers, they call it, just a bunch of administrators who produce absolutely nothing. And if we just divided that 43,000 in half and gave everyone a $21,000 voucher and a $21,000 money in their bank account, they would graduate with $300,000. And the affordability crisis that got Mamdani elected would go away. And of course, the answer is, we don't want to do that.
So let me just make sure I understand the math here, Jeff. So you're saying, for example, the Catholic schools in New York probably cost less than around 20, or what would it be?
Way less than 20. We just use 20. You can go to a fancy Catholic.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's just say, for sake of argument, let's just say it was 20,000. So you're saying we could give every, and by the way, the Catholic schools have open seats, so they could actually take a lot of these kids. So you give them, so basically, you give them a voucher for $20,000 so they can go to the Catholic school, and then you give $20,000 to the family that they could then, put in the bank and almost like a Trump account and accumulate money over 15 years. And how much money would they have by the time they graduate?
They would have, if you started in kindergarten, you'd have $300,000, assuming you put money, in a.
You mean per child, per kid?
Yes. Per kid.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So this just shows you how wasteful this is. These numbers add up, folks. I mean, we can get these numbers for you folks, and you can see. Yeah. So what you're saying is, in New York City, you can get a better education for half the cost.
Absolutely. Way better. Plus, you don't have to, Catholic schools are a great option, but you can homeschool, you can, parents can Charters, get together. With 20,000, 10 parents can get together and they have $200,000. They can make their own little school, and it sounds too good to be true. I'm afraid I sound like a crazy person. If anybody tells you.
Because the numbers are so big. Yeah.
I can give you a much better education. You can graduate with $300,000. You'd say, well, that's too good to be true. But it is true, and that's how dysfunctional.
And even, by the way, Jeff, even if you're wrong by 50%, those are still giant numbers. So that's what we need to. We need to go to these minority families and tell them, this is what they're doing to you by ripping you off with the excessive costs. And what, by the way, in New York City and in Chicago and Philadelphia, you've got half the kids can't even read or do math at grade level proficiency. Maybe it's worse than that.
Way less than half. Yeah, it's 75% can. And by the way, Philadelphia is 32,000 a kid. Chicago's 35. New York City, is always the biggest and most corrupt, but not by much.
So, Jeff, why is it that, because you and I have talked about these numbers, if you ask the people in New York City or Chicago, we spent 12,000, or they completely lowball the numbers. And then they say, oh, we're not spending enough. Your numbers say that they're spending 2 to 3 times more than they're admitting.
Necessary. Yeah. Well, their algorithm is give us money, we spend it. The kids can't read and write. There's only one conclusion we can reach from that. We need more money. So in Philadelphia, New York, they'll constantly say the schools are underfunded, because they have to be underfunded by their logic. If kids can't read and write, obviously you didn't give them enough money. It doesn't cross their mind. They wasted it, and they spent it on nonsensical administrators. So once you have that algorithm, you wind up spending all the resources in the world for no production.
So, Jeff, in our last minute, why is it that the Democratic Party won't? This is in the interests of their own voters and their own families, and these. Why don't they get this?
You're assuming, Steve, that they're trying to solve the problem. They know that if there was school choice, the teachers, the teachers union would collapse, and that's who funds them, and that's who gets them their votes. There are 5 million people between the NEA and the UFT who are union members, so they're not going to give up that power structure. And if the kids have to suffer, they don't care. And that's
and as you know, Jeff, like when you go to the Democratic National Convention every 4 years, like over half of the delegates are teachers union members.
Right. Yeah.
So they own the Democratic Party.
Yes. There really is no Democratic Party. There's just the teachers union, and they hire the Democratic Party, Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Jeff, thank you for what you and Janine have done. It's an amazing philanthropist that you are, and helping so many families. And I know the teachers unions think you're dastardly, but I don't think most Americans do. Keep up with it, my friend. And by the way, folks, we will be back in just 1 minute, and we will be taking your calls. I want to hear from you. We're nationwide, 1-800-848-9222 on any of these subjects we've talked about, 1-800-848-9222. This is the More Money Show, and we'll be right back.